A second friend in my community was killed overnight in the last 10 days, and I have 100 feelings about it at the same time, and I don't yet know how to process or where to put that energy, so here I am. In Philadelphia, where I live, Josh Kruger, an advocate, a one-time city employee turned freelance journalist, was murdered overnight in his home. I wasn't an intimate friend of his, but I've known him for years as a source and a peer, and so I have feelings. But I'm also a journalist and I run a news org, so I feel a responsibility to get the complexity of this down as best I can. There are at least two pairs of things that I believe at the same time that may seem like they come in opposition. First, poorer communities confront the trauma of gun violence disproportionately than those in professional circles like journalism or tech. But those communities get a lot less media attention. That is true, and we need to grapple with that and understand the morality of it. And yet, Josh's individual story deserves the attention and scrutiny it will receive because he is a person, and a pretty incredible one. He spoke openly about navigating homelessness and being HIV positive. He was a fiery progressive, and he challenged us at Technically and me personally about how we did our reporting over the years, what stories we told and how. And he did that to so many other places. He wasn't always right, but he always gave a damn. And Josh and I were part of a community together. So I have a personal responsibility to speak about what I saw as the good and great in him. And there's a second pairing, that our cities, all of our communities, frankly, of nearly all sizes in the country, have had a rough few years during and following the pandemic. After decades of steady declines in crime, especially violent crime, all that seemed to reverse amid all of the societal upheaval. And there's a lot of finger pointing and grandstanding that I'm not interested in right now. But it's true that Philadelphia's homicide rate, the homicide totals, they spiked back to levels we hadn't seen since the early 1990s, before this city and like so many others felt like it had turned a corner. And so we feel scared and anxious, and stories like Josh's make that feel realer than ever, especially for the privileged enough of us who have the choice about where to live. And yet at the same time, our cities are not out of control. They're not ungovernable. I won't let cable news let you think that. Our cities are better places to live than they have been in decades. We're feeling the short-term reversal in our progress against violence, but that hasn't taken away all of the progress we have made. It isn't the 1980s. Cities matter because it's where so many solutions come from, and those solutions typically come because we're at the closest proximity to our greatest problems. That's why I care about cities generally and Philadelphia specifically. So what do you do with a story like Josh that is going to turn me inside out? Or the story of Baltimore tech founder Pava LaPere, whom some of you may have seen that we had Technically reported on so painfully just last week. So above all, we have to celebrate these remarkable people, and we have to commit to their work. That's first. But second, and nearly as important, we can't let anyone else dictate our story. We have very real problems and very real violence in our communities, especially our cities, but we can't run from those problems because there's nowhere to run. This is a project for all of us, and Josh and Pava can remind us of that.